My guests today are brothers, they're musicians, they're famous, they're only in their 20s. Critics say they're simply chips of the old block. Friends and admirers say they're much more than that. Well, today's your chance to find out as I introduce you to the Bangash brothers, Aman and Ayaan Ali Bangash. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having us.
You know, the world knows you as Amjad Ali Khan's sons or the Bangash brothers. Are you ever scared that in fact your own individual identities might get ignored?
Well, that did happen for a long time. People used to say Amjad Ali Khan Saab's sons and Hafiz Ali Khan Saab's grandsons and, you know, and Bangash brothers all the time. So Ayaan and I actually now have started playing a lot of solo concerts also, because it's very important to have your own individuality. This is what I think.
Yeah, because at times it just gets a little annoying, you know, when people say, oh, which one is who? And they always confuse who's Aman, who's Ayaan. So nowadays, you know, we make it a point to tell organizers, you're not going to print Bangash brothers, you're going to write Aman Ali Bangash and Ayaan Ali.
Because we don't want in the future, sons or daughters, or, you know, he's Aman and Ayaan's son. You know, it becomes like
extremely confusing.
Yeah, very confusing.
But tell me, given that you are Amjad's sons, was it inevitable that you would be musicians and that the sarod would be your instrument?
Well, I think in some ways it was taken for granted that this is what I would be doing or he would be doing.
But he was keen. I mean, Ayaan was very much into music ever since a child. All the time he used to listen to music, and I used to hate him for that, because Appa used to compare me with him, that look at a younger brother, he's all the time engrossed into music.
He was quite a rebel, actually.
And I was more into sports and games, and I would be the, you know, the hooligan of
Your mom says you were the extrovert of the family.
Exactly. My father had to actually call me back from the cricket field, you know, come, it's a practice time.
So he was natural about music and you had to be bullied into it.
I kind of knew that that's what I want to do since a young age, but I think his artist had to be, you know, the artist in him had to be
like
out.
waking up, literally.
Tell me, were you a bully as the elder brother?
I think all the elder brothers and sisters are bullies.
He was a devil.
I mean,
he still is.
I mean, I love him a lot, but then obviously, you know, sometimes the ego comes in that I'm the older brother and he should listen to whatever I tell him to do.
And he doesn't, does he?
Well, he does. He tries his best, I think, but sometimes he also gets that ego. That, hey,
but there have been moments when you know, we are performing on stage together, and we actually have arguments on stage musically, in the sense that he would want to do something and I would just change the composition. And we both know,
and I hate him for that.
We were hating each other at that moment, but we'd still smile. But when the concert's over, I'd walk out this way, he'd walk out that way.
Yes, absolutely. People say that one can always tell whether the Bangash brothers are having fun together, whether they're quarreling, depending upon how they walk off the stage. Your mum says that far from being the silent, quiet, docile child, you were actually the naughty one. Apparently you would ring up people and invite them to dinner when your parents weren't expecting.
Yeah, that was a time when they never used to have caller IDs. So we used to call people up, especially when it was Eid, or even if it was April Fool's Day, saying that, oh, hello, how are you? You know, you're invited for dinner to my house and it's been so long. And we'd call that other person up and say, you never invited me for dinner for so long.
I have to say this, that Ayaan used to tell me that do this, and I was the one who used to actually call up.
Because I used to start laughing, and yeah. he could, you know.
I used to do the talking part, and I could fake my voice.
Fake your voice? What do you mean?
I mean, not now. I've got, a bad throat now. But fake my voice as in I can imitate very well. I can mimic people.
So in other words, you can pretend to be Ayaan without Ayaan even realizing it.
Exactly. I mean, that's what my father does. He picks up the phone, and some people are like, is Khan Saab there? And my father would be like, no, he's not there. Who's speaking? This is Ayaan, or this is Aman, you know, and very conveniently, and very embarrassing.
And other things that we've done is that we've actually called up a few tabla players at times, you know, who we've just been a little mischievous with. And we've called them up and said, you know, so-and-so musician is calling you tomorrow, and please get your tabla. There's a rehearsal at 11 o'clock, and it's very important. And they must have gone the next day.
With the tabla?
I'm sure they would have.
I mean, this is all, I think, below 14 years.
Yeah, when we were
not
really
young.
Your father was very protective. You mentioned a moment ago how he used to join in the joke and pretend to be you when the phone got rung. But I gather when your mother sent the two of you to boarding school, he quietly turned up one day and pulled you right back home.
I mean, he started, you know, giving my mother excuses that he has some work in Gwalior, because we were at the Sindhya Fort, Sindhya school over there. And we were there for, I think, just about 28 days. And
That's it.
And Abba had visited us at least about 7 to 8 times by then.
Because his ancestral house is there, so he would tell my mother, oh, there's some work there, there's some construction, there's some meetings, so he used to keep coming. And once my father had sent one of his disciples with a tape recorder, because he wanted to hear our progress musically.
Because we know Bengali and Assamese,
Yeah.
so we recorded the whole thing, the whole
Instead of
conversation.
recording music, we recorded "Oh Get Us Back," and we were so
Happy together.
And so he quietly turned up without telling his wife
Yeah,
and
yeah,
brought you home.
and he got us.
And
back.
then the next day, we fell at Ma's feet and said, Ma, please.
We'll be good children.
Good
and
children.
Was she furious?
What happened to her family? No,
She-
Ma's like a coconut,
Yeah.
you know, she pretends to be very strong, but she's very soft, even softer than my father.
There's another wonderful occasion when your father insisted upon cooking lunch for you, and he
Oh.
ended up sending you to school with the strangest sandwiches in your
Yeah,
lunchbox.
That was very sweet. My mother was unwell, and Ayaan and I mean, we had to eat our tiffin because we were not allowed outside food.
Or
My
like
mother's
Ma
trained.
had given instructions, no canteen food, you know, you're going to take food from home. So Ma was ill.
She was scared that something might happen to her darling
Yeah,
son.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
she-
think so.
she was very-
overprotective.
she's always been
Ma has
protective.
very- But then my father had these two breads, and he put some almond papad and gave it to us.
What happened when you ate them?
Well, when I opened my tiffin box, I was like, what is this, you know? And I didn't know what it was because he just stuffed almond papad between two plain slices of bread, you know, and we just ate and it was so dry and we came back, I said, what did you give us? So
That was Abba's, I think, height of being creative as far as cooking was.
I think
Your
that was
childhood
just-
seems to have been, as they would say colloquially, a complete ball. But there was a serious side to it as well, wasn't there? Your father was not just your dad,
But
he
a
was
guru.
also your guru.
teacher.
Was that confusing at times, difficult?
Well, there were moments when, you know, we didn't know where to draw the line, and both of us. Because, for example, if he would walk inside a room, all my father's students are getting up, oh, Ustadji's here.
Out of respect.
And we'd keep sitting, and I used to think, why are they getting up? He does this all the time anyway in the house. But it's only as I grew older, as he grew older, that we
Earlier it was
realized
more
that-
of the father-son relationship, and now, as we are growing up and we are seeing a father, I think it's more of the teacher and the son.
So when you said that, in fact,
A
it
teacher
was
and
your
the
brother
student.
who was drawn to music and not you, were you rebelling against the fact that daddy was a guru as well and he was the man who imposed discipline in your life?
Exactly, because because there were some times when my father would just go completely, I mean, he would just let go. You know, he would be so friendly, so nice and so sweet, and suddenly you had sides of him being so strict. So I couldn't actually understand the contrast in his nature. But I think, you know, whatever he did, I mean, I was the naughtier one. Whatever he did, I mean, it's paid off well.
Was
I
he
think.
understanding?
Well, yes and no, in a way. I mean, I think my father was very understanding when it came to certain things.
But then over the years, I think now the relationship right now is more of the teacher and the student. Abba's become very serious over the years.
I
I
hate
mean, he
that,
stopped
but-
being a father and become
No,
more of
no,
a guru?
he is a father, but then, you know, if we joke
He
a
likes
little
us
too
to
much,
be more.
he would say that, you know, avoid doing these things when I'm around.
I'm
So
around.
we actually don't know where we stand at times.
You would actually know of him sometimes.
Yeah, most of the times, especially on stage.
I mean, I
you
keep
know
on
that
telling him, I said, why did you make me and I play the sarod? Because you're so good looking, you're a great musician, you have a great personality and aura about yourself. I mean, how can we make a thing for ourselves? You know, this is, but my father's like, no, you should have faith in God and one day
he was,
you'll have your own.
he was very concerned, especially about it.
Because he doesn't have faith in God?
No, because
No, I think
what
this-
he's hinting is on the looks and I think on the
No, no,
personality.
I didn't mean that. You're rather okay.
I see there's a little incipient rivalry between the two. Tell me, Ayaan, which of the two is more like dad in his looks?
I think the long nose is from my father, and I think people say I look like my mother, and he looks more like my grandfather. You know, like these humongous hands and all his features and everything. He's more like my grandfather, and I believe I'm a nice mix of my
Your
parents.
mum says that he's a lot closer to her, that whenever he's got a problem, he goes to mummy for help.
Exactly, I'm a mama's boy and people...
Well, they're basically just two Cancerians who are all the time fighting.
Do they gang up against you, the two of them?
They don't gang up, but you know, there are these moments that
Emotional
they
ones.
both are arguing and they're fighting, and suddenly there are these two best of buddies, you know, and and I just tell them that you
Ayaan and
deserve
Abba,
each other. you know.
I would say they're very dangerous because they're very quiet. They don't talk their heart out to anyone, their mind. Me and Ma are like open book, you know, whatever we have in our mind or in our heart, it just comes out.
Now, there's something very interesting your mother says about the two of you. She says that today they're very gifted musicians and it's a joy to hear them play. But when they first began, she said, it was more noise than music.
It was because, you know, Abba used to be in the music room with us, and Ma used to just come up because there was yelling, screaming, the tablas rolling around. And, you know, these people used to come to make us practice, my father's students, and instead of practicing, we used to put powder on their hair, and, you know.
Because we knew that we could get away with these things. I think we were very spoiled as kids. But the turning point, what came in our life was, we were playing in London at the Logan Hall. Ayaan was, I think, 9 and I was 11.
And this was your London debut?
London debut
that's
concert.
right, that's right.
And there was there were many eminent musicians in the audience. And obviously we didn't know what we were doing. We were spoiled brats. We just played whatever we wanted to.
Oh, we had gone to London after a long time, so, you know, we did more of Oxford Street and Piccadilly, and, you know, we were least bothered
11
about
and
the
9, you
concert.
really don't know. But then, once we came back from the concert, after dinner, I saw my father. He was missing. And I asked Ma, I said, where's Abba? And she said, he's in the room, I had to go meet him.
And
He
Ma
was
told us,
sweating
actually,
and
shame on you, you played better when you were 8 and 10.
And he was
Yeah,
sweating,
so-
and that's the time when I saw him. And I was like, I can never see my father ever like that, ever again.
You'd actually given him fever. You'd played so badly, he'd gone ill.
Because
Yeah.
he's very sensitive. See, he can pardon you if you commit murder, but not if you play badly.
And that was the turning point. Does that memory still haunt you?
Yeah, it does. It's
It does.
scary, actually, because that's when I think I realized, or he realized, that what music is to him. I mean, actually, that was
serious
another
he was about
reason when I felt that this is how Abba wants us to be. He wants us to be the best in this line. So if we were to do something else, there would have been some guilt even
Is that your
in my
real
mind.
inspiration, that you mustn't let your father down, that you mustn't once again give him fever because you aren't living up to his
at
expectations?
least for me. After that, by the time I was 13, 14, I came into practicing 5, 6, 7 hours a day, and then there was no looking back ever since I was 16.
The good thing was that over the later years, there were times when Abba used to come to my room and say that, you know, okay, just rest now, stop practicing.
You
Because
went full circle the other way.
Yeah, because, you know, that was something
That was
even
an
his father
achievement.
did to him, that, you know, okay, rest now, go to sleep. Because even he used to practice so much.
That was an achievement, complete achievement. When Abba said, stop it.
And today, you're both in your mid-20s. Do you think you've lived up to your father's expectations?
Well, till now, but yeah, he keeps on saying that, as you're growing up, your music needs to be more matured. So he keeps on correcting us all the time. He never praises us, which is
He
very good.
remains the force that drives you forward.
Yes, that's true.
And my mother.
And Ma as well.
Okay, let's take a break at that point. I want to come back in part 2 and talk about your music and some of the wonderful fun you've had playing together. We'll be back in a moment's time. Stick with us. Welcome back. My guests are the wonderful Bangash brothers, the exuberant Aman and Ayaan Ali Bangash. Let's talk about your music. I gather, Aman, that both of you were determined to release your first albums before you were 18. Why 18?
Because ever since I was a child, ever since the age of 11, 12, people used to keep on saying, oh, Amjad Ali Khan Saab's first, record came out when he was 18, then 19, then when he was 20. So,
So if Daddy did it, I've got
I
to
will
do
also
one
do
better.
it.
So
I will also do
I
it.
did the hat trick. Abba's album came out when he was 18. His came out when he was 18. And I was so keen to record my album when I was 18 that I recorded it one day before my 19th birthday.
Literally.
Yeah, literally.
And there was some
the-
editing problem
There was some
going
editing
on.
problem, so I said, no, we have to finish before 12 o'clock. We have to finish.
So it's a race with the clock.
Yeah, and I did it, So it's all out when we were 18.
We did it.
Something else for you. We did it. So you mean you collaborated with
No,
him?
He was in the
editing.
studio. He was just making life hard for me over time.
I'm the person who's more with the technical information and sound, and I do the...
Now something else the two of you have also done is to perform in front of Prince Charles.
That's
done
right.
Was that fun?
That was an honor. I mean, we played in front of him, I think, twice. Once at the Buckingham Palace and once at his Highgrove in residence. And we're doing it again in
Coming May.
coming May.
So Prince Charles has
Prince
become a fan of yours, has he?
Well, he's really into listening to Sarod, and he loves
He
Abba's
genuinely
music.
understands that he's not being polite?
No, he really understands, because once when I heard him, when I saw him listening to us.
Not for us,
Yeah,
but
so I think
Tears in his eyes?
Yeah, tears
it's
coming
not
down
because
his
of our
eyes.
music.
Tears of joy or tears of the other
That's
thing?
why I said it's not because of
I
us.
hope it was tears of joy.
But he's very keen in all this, I think, world music, ethnic music. He's very fond of that.
Now, in part 1, you mentioned that the two of you are keen to establish your own separate identities by encouraging organizers to make you play solo rather than together. But isn't there a danger that if you do that, you could split your appeal in half?
No, because I personally feel the character of Indian classical music is all about individuality. You have to flourish as individual musicians. musician, sorry. And what happens that when me and Ayaan are playing together, we're compromising on our thoughts, on our being creative.
You see, the main thing is both our natures are so different. So
One
you
is
know,
good, one is bad.
yeah.
It's so different.
Yeah. So music is like your reflection, you know, what you have in mind. So he has his different point of view, and I have my own point of
What
view.
you're saying is he cramps your style.
Always, always.
Basically, he's
and, no, and when you're
complaining.
together, you all the time, you know, you have to adjust so much, you know, with each other, so that you don't break this other gentleman's thought on stage. And visually it's very appealing. You're seeing two brothers together.
But and from the marketing point of view,
Yeah, so-
you are bigger if you are, I mean, if individually, if we sell, then together you sell more.
But you also tend to become very dependent on the other person,
But
which
there's
is
a
very wrong. So.
danger as well, isn't there? At the moment you're brothers and partners, you could end up becoming competitors and rivals.
No, actually we started our career, I mean, when I started off, Ayaan was still in school, so I was more of a solo musician. And by the time he came back and we did a TV show together, ever since then it became Aman Ayaan, Aman Ayaan, Aman
Yeah, it
Ayaan
just became
everywhere.
that. But you know, these comparisons, I mean, me or him, we've been facing that since such a long time, even if we were playing together or separately. You know, many people in the artist community, you know, they would just say, oh, you know, I think the older one is better, or the younger one is better. And they would do these things and, you know, to purposely put someone's
You spent a lot of your
moral
time
down,
actually
you know,
with people trying to split you apart and create jealousy between you.
Exactly, and the best part about me and Ayaan, touchwood, is that, you know, unlike, I don't know about how the chemistry is between other brothers and sisters, but me and Ayaan, it doesn't matter. I keep on telling my father, I said, I'm ready to change my profession if I'm going to play Sarod and if this thing is going to come between brothers. I said, I don't want this.
So you're absolutely confident that even if you begin performing individually and you become competitors in a sense, it's not going to affect the fun and the bond you
No,
have together.
definitely.
No, because I personally feel the whole world is there to compete with. Why with your own brother or your sister?
Now, of course, there are several other things that the two of you do other than play the sarod. I gather you're quite keen to become an actor one day, provided you get the right role.
Well, I did get 2 offers to do a film, and lately, I mean, I've got myself a portfolio for myself, and I've sent it across. Someone
I
wanted
mean,
it.
you've had yourself photographed.
Photograph, exactly, for the first time. And
Nice photographs, be honest.
Well, this is what he looks like.
So whatever. So I'm keen on, you know, when a youngster wants to do a movie, they think he wants to be a hero. But that's not what I want. I want to
You've
do
decided
anything.
you want to be the villain.
No, I would love to. I mean, something completely different, but I would like to do more of a character role.
Really? And-
Something like Mozart or something.
No, I mean, more of a character.
And in fact, you paint. 2
Yeah.
years ago, you had quite a phenomenal exhibition in Delhi.
I had an exhibition at Art Today, and it just happened. I hadn't planned it because, you know, I used to kind of have this complex since I was a child. You know, people would say, oh, who's the artist and who's the painter?
Even
out
now.
of the two. Even now people
Yeah.
do that. So that's why I was like avoiding being called an artist or a painter. But then this happened, and I think it was good because it's just another side of me. And
So we
The-
ended
the
up buying
col-
all his paintings.
yeah, they sold out. They sold out.
Would you ever take up painting seriously to the point where it began to compete with your music for your time and your attention?
No, I would not take it up to the extent that it hampers my musical career. I mean, it's always there. I mean, that's the colorful side of me. It's there, but then I would never want it to, you know, outdo my musical career.
You've also done, both of you together, a long stint on television. For many years, you used to present the television musical program Sare Gama.
Exactly.
That's right.
And then suddenly one day you just stopped. What happened?
We did it for 2 years, and after that we just thought that, excuse me, we thought that, you know, it's getting very monotonous.
You got bored?
In a
Well,
way, because it was not growing. We were not growing after a
And
point.
musically, or even professionally, it was not taking us anywhere. You know, we were not, I mean, after all, we are Sarod players, so it was not projecting us as what we do.
In other words, it
So
was the
it
wrong
was-
type of music. It was too popular.
Well,
for the
we did- I mean,
classical tradition.
I would not disagree with the fact that it made us a household name. It got
Yeah.
us a lot of popularity.
We
We came
learned-
into people's bedrooms.
We
with
learned
the
a
name.
lot while we were
But then
doing
after the
that,
point, people from the classical line started saying that, you know, you're Amjad Ali Khan Saab's son, you are the 7th generation, and why are you doing this? You know, and so these sorts of things started coming up. And I mean, I told him, and we discussed that it's nice, we did this, but now we should move on with
Oh,
something
but
new.
we had the fun from that, you know.
We learned a lot.
Whatever we did, we enjoyed, and then I was like, let's not do it anymore. So that's
Aman, you also spent about 5 or 6 episodes doing a program on cars, and cars are a great joy for you.
I love cars.
Why did you give that up?
Well, I was signed up for a contract which was for 57 episodes. But after doing 5 episodes, there were 2 reasons. Firstly, it was a very, what do you say, the schedule
He went
was
for
crazy.
a ride.
He went for a ride.
No, the schedule was very crazy because I had some major concerts to play and they wanted me to shoot 4 times a week. And I needed time to practice.
And there was simply none for the things that you really care about.
Exactly. No, and also I was scared. I was told that I was just doing cars, but then I ended up doing bikes, like the Thunderbird, the Enfield Thunderbird and all. And I got scared that if I fall off a bike, hurt my fingers, I mean, that's my future. So I did get scared. And
You
then
know, talk about your future. There's something else that also lies in the future. What about marriage? When's that going to happen?
Well, I guess he's first on line because he's older.
well, no,
You saying that with a deep sense of relief?
No, actually, to be honest, I really don't think that I'll be settling down.
I mean, I don't
I'm
mind.
in my late 20s.
and I don't mind settling down if I come across someone I can really relate with.
And this lady is not available to you as yet?
I mean,
Or are you just being difficult?
people don't believe, not difficult, I mean, I believe that if I have, I mean, there's no harm if, you know, I have high hopes. I mean, you can always dream of having someone very nice.
I take it you're already doing a lot of dreaming in that case.
Well, I'm just dreaming. I mean, it's yet to happen.
But you know, honestly, it's just, I mean, in today's time and age, I mean, I don't want to sound mean or anything, but you know,
Go ahead, don't be shy.
No. The thing is that, I mean, one never knows that, you know, whether whoever is involved with you is, whether it's for you or because of your father or, you know, a whole lot of things. So until
You're a
unless
little wary at the moment.
yeah, because until unless you know someone that well, I don't think you should really go into
In which
a
case,
serious
would you settle
relationship.
for an arranged marriage? Someone that your parents had found and liked and approved of?
I don't mind anything as far as I feel it's right.
Is that Aman talking or Mummy's boy?
Well, that's Aman talking.
What about you, Ayaan? You're the,
No,
you're
I'd
the
li-
silent, determined
You are the
one.
wise one.
I'd like to know the person I'm marrying.
You want to marry someone of your own choice,
Yeah, I hope I can do that.
regardless
If-
of whether
if
Mummy
I-
or Daddy like her or not.
No, I'm sure they'll learn to like.
He'll make them
They'll
like.
learn to like.
He'll
But
make
if I
them.
don't find anyone by the time I'm 40, then they can do it.
Now, there is something else that the two of you are doing. This probably is going to be one of the last ventures together, but I gather you have an arrangement with Universal Records to do an album together where you're going to sing.
Yeah.
A singing
And that's
album.
something the audience hasn't heard you do. So why don't you end this interview singing something of your choice for us?
But what my voice is today, I mean, I'm going to support Ayaan because with a voice like this,
No, your voice is like this.
Achha,
You
my
really can't do anything about it.
well, this piece that we're going to sing now is in Rag Bahar, composed by my father, and it's a tarana.
Tada re dani tadani dim tana tanom.
Tada re dani tadani dim tana tanum, tada re dani tadani dim tana tanum, tanum tananum taderina, 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 tada re dani tadani dim tana tanum, tada re dani tadani dim,
Na 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 dim tana na 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 na
tana na 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 dim tana na na. Tananum, tananum, ta, tana, tananum, tadare dani, dakadakum, kridakadita, kranda, 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 tadare dani, tadani, dim, tanada.